Welcome to Lotus Health Education and Wellness, Empowerment through Health Enlightenment. We've been talking recently about how diet, exercise, and certain other changes can help us to manage chronic health conditions, which basically are any type of a condition that you can be diagnosed with, that you may have to be treated for an extended period of time, or in certain cases, the duration of your life. With regards to some of our recent videos, we've looked at the DASH diet, which most people tend to, as we discussed in the video, see as being very tightly associated with blood pressure management, but in reality can have a lot of beneficial effects for other types of health conditions as well. We're going to be shifting a little bit to a different type of cardiovascular condition, or something that can affect your heart and the surrounding areas, by looking a little bit at atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, otherwise known by the acronym ASCVD. We're going to look a little bit in our next set of videos at things like diets that are high in things like proteins, that are good for you from the basis of having things that are plant-based, low in dairy or other sources of fats, a variety of different diets that can assist in being part of your regimen to help you maintain good health and minimize your risk factors for heart disease of different kinds. But before we do that, unlike with hypertension management, which again is high blood pressure, and how we were able to sort of jump straight into that, we need to take a look at a step back from that. Before we get into diet with ASCVD, we have to talk about the labs. Lab monitoring is so important, as we're going to talk about. Before we jump into it, remember, if you haven't started subscribing to our channel yet, to hit the subscribe button, and remember to give today's video a like, as well as any of the other videos that you watch here on Lotus Health, so we can provide you with more great content. So with regards to ASCVD, it's so important for us to monitor the labs, and we're going to talk a little bit in today's video about some of the labs that are important for you to remain healthy with your heart. With hypertension or high blood pressure, it's a little bit easier to jump straight into discussions about that, because honestly and unfortunately, with high blood pressure, it's easy to feel the symptoms with that and to be able to tell when certain adjustments are to be made. It's not always the case with everybody. With some people, their high blood pressure can be a bit more on the silent side. But in terms of it being compared to cholesterol buildup, that tends to be even more difficult for us as healthcare providers to be able to support our patients with. So lab work, which we refer to when we first start looking at it as baseline labs, the initial sets of things that we will look at from your blood work, is going to be so critical for us to being able to help you with it. With regards to your lipids, which you'll hear me use that term interchangeably, lipids and cholesterol, they're essentially referring to the same thing. There's a set of labs that we look at specific to your cholesterol results, known as your lipid panel, and then certain associated labs that we may look at if we're considering starting you on medications. So we're going to take a look at the basic lipid panel in today's video, and in one of our upcoming videos, we'll talk in a little bit more detail about advanced lipid testing, which are some newer techniques that we as healthcare providers that are looking after you and working with you to get you the best health are taking a look at certain characteristics of how your body makes cholesterol in order to provide even more guidance. So in today's video, let's jump into some of the components of our basic lipid panel and what they mean. Today's video is going to look at the basic lipids. These are things that for many, many years, most of us that have gone in and had blood work are accustomed to seeing. And in another video from now, we'll go ahead and take a look at, like I mentioned earlier, these more advanced tests that have come out in recent years, which are giving us even more information and have shown to be very helpful when we're selecting medications. So when we talk about your lipid panel, the first thing that we're going to look at is your lipoproteins, specifically your low density lipoprotein and high density lipoprotein. Let's take a little bit of further look at what these are. When your body makes cholesterol, all of that is happening in your liver. Your liver plays a very important role in your body. For many of us, we may be familiar with one of the big responsibilities of the liver, which is when you take in substances like medications, when you drink alcohol, or in the unfortunate event that you consume some sort of a chemical or some product that has toxic or harmful aspects to it, the job of your liver is to take any of those things that's entering your body and absorb them and help put them through a process that makes them usable in the case of things like medications, and goes through a process called detoxification if it's certain things that could be potentially harmful to your body. While your liver is not the only organ in your body that has this feature of being basically protective of your system, it is the thing that does the major work with that. And one of the other things that your liver does, aside from that very important role, is the other piece of its work that many of us may not be familiar with. The liver is also responsible for making certain important things in your body, like playing a part in how your body makes and breaks down sugar, and also your cholesterol and the components of it. When we talk about your cholesterol, your liver is responsible for making the major pieces that you see as part of that lipid panel. And among those are these products called the lipoproteins. When you look at your lab results, you'll notice that you'll have different things that are listed for your cholesterol or lipid testing. The first of which is generally your LDL, which stands for your low density lipoprotein. This is commonly known as the bad cholesterol because this is the one that anytime your doctor or a member of your healthcare team in general tells you that you have buildup in those areas around your heart, like the vessels or any of the major arteries and things that are leading to or from your heart, they're usually referring to a buildup, though not all the time, but mostly of these LDLs. And so this is why it's sort of referred to as your bad cholesterol, because of that role that it plays in some of this buildup throughout your body. Anytime we talk about wanting to bring your cholesterol level down, that LDL or low density lipoprotein is typically the thing that we're referring to. You also have the good cholesterol, another lipoprotein that's called your high density lipoprotein or HDL. This one plays a role in helping to regulate some of the bad components to your cholesterol within your body and helps your body to be able to process and clear your cholesterol and keep certain things under control to help your heart remain healthy. There are some things that you can do for both your LDL as well as your HDL to keep them at levels that we want. Clearly, as you can probably tell, with your LDL, which again is the one that we tend to refer to as the bad cholesterol, there are supplements and prescription medications that we will talk about in another video that can help keep them low. With regards to your high density lipoproteins or HDL, there's also supplements, medications, as well as things you can do that can help bring that up as well and keep that high, because clearly as the good cholesterol, that's the one where if we get a higher number with a range of values, which if you take a look at the description below, I talk a little bit about what the usual cutoffs are for these different values, your LDL and your HDL, and some of it is also going to be determined on your gender and certain other aspects of your health and your demographics. So if you take a look in the description, it gives a little bit of information as well as some links to some great resources that we as healthcare professionals use that you may also find helpful as well to consult if this is something that you've been told you need to take a look at and be mindful of as part of your healthcare. So with your lipoproteins, you've got your good cholesterol and your bad cholesterol, again, your HDL and LDL as those components that you'll see in a basic lipid panel. With regards to the other major component of your basic lipid panel, we've talked about the LDL and the HDL. The other piece is generally your triglycerides, which you may see with the abbreviation TG on documents like your lab report, as well as certain things that we as your healthcare team may provide to you. The triglycerides are the other component to your labs, and what we look at here is basically any circulating fats or things that could get turned into fats. So I mentioned earlier about the fact that when we order these labs on you to look at your cholesterol, we as your healthcare team may also look at your blood sugar levels and your A1C. The reason for this is because when you consume sugar, And especially if you're pre-diabetic or if you are an outright diabetic, the sugar levels, because of issues with your insulin, because of, again, things that may be related to your genetics, because of hereditary things that you have from your family, any one number of issues can play a role. With your sugar level, it can also impact your triglycerides, because unused sugar that you're consuming, if you don't exercise or do some other type of activity to burn off those excess calories or that excess product that you're taking into your system, your body then takes that sugar and will store it as fat. So anytime you consume large amounts of sugar in the form of literal sugar that you can pour out of a container, but also other sources of sugar like sodas, alcoholic beverages, certain types of foods, anything that has very high sugar or processed sugar in particular content can be impactful to your triglycerides. And so this is why, again, if we're looking at your triglycerides, we're also potentially going to look at things like your blood sugar levels, any risk factors that you have for diabetes, or if you are a diabetic, we will pay very close attention to your blood sugar and your A1C to ensure that we understand if there is a relationship between your diabetic status or how your diabetes is being managed, or if there is some other reason for the concern why your triglycerides, which again is one of those big three that become a component to your basic lipid panel, if there is a reason why that's elevated. So that's your lipid panel. Your LDL, which again is your low density lipoprotein or the bad cholesterol, your HDL, which are the high density lipoproteins or the good cholesterol, and your triglycerides, which are those circulating fats and things that can be impacting stuff relating to your overall health and the formation of plaques and certain other concerns that may be found throughout your vasculature, which is again any of those major arteries, vessels leading to or from your heart. And why we monitor them is because knowing this with your lipid panel will give us a very good idea of your overall risk for things like heart attack, stroke, and certain other health conditions. It's important to remember again that in addition to looking at those things, which are the big three of your cholesterol, we may also have some additional things like your total cholesterol, which gives us an idea of how all of those different values, your LDL, the HDL, the triglycerides, are factoring together. And your non-HDL, where we remove that good cholesterol level and we take a look at how some of those more concerning components of your lipid panel are working and what we need to focus on to try and keep you healthy. In addition to looking at your blood sugar level and your A1C, we may also look at things like your liver function. We refer to that as a LFT or liver function test. And the reason why we look at that is if we have any concerns that your cholesterol may be high, we want to take a look at how your liver is doing overall, because again, your liver is playing a very important job here because your liver is responsible for where your cholesterol is coming from, how your sugar is being processed. And so knowing those things, we may need to look to see if your liver is working the way we expect it to. And those levels with your liver function are going to give us an idea of how your liver is doing. Another important reason is because if your cholesterol level, whether it's your LDL or bad cholesterol or the triglycerides, if either or both of those is high, we may need to, after a conversation with you about lifestyle modification like your diet, exercise, doing certain things not related to medications, we will need those baseline labs to be able to tell us if your liver is healthy enough for us to then be saying that we need to provide medication to you and or certain supplements. What are those medications and supplements? We're going to be doing a separate video that's going to give you a very high level look at some of the different families of medications and over-the-counter products that can be beneficial when we have these lab results relating to your liver function, relating to your blood sugar and your A1C, and of course, importantly, those components of your lipid panel, your LDL, your HDL, your triglycerides, your total cholesterol, and then the non-HDL that we take a look at. And all of those things together, we sit down and have a discussion with you. We have these lab results so that they can assist us in determining whether or not we need to engage in a lot of lifestyle modifications, which will be things like your diet and exercise, or if we need to move to the next step of having medications, supplements, and things that are a little bit more higher scale in order to address what's going on with your heart and all of the surrounding areas. So, if you like today's content, remember to give today's video a thumbs up, like the video, and also hit the subscribe button. We've got some great information with resources and other tools that you can use here in the description. And as usual, please feel free to leave comments. If there's topics that you're interested in, we would love to hear it. Remember again to keep on watching here at Lotus Health Education, and make sure that you give us a comment if anything, but if not, we will see you in our next video in this series, as well as additional content to come. Take care. Thank you for watching this video from Lotus Health Education and Wellness. We hope that you enjoyed it and find the content useful on your healthcare journey. We want to remind you that while eating healthy, like a lot of the recommendations that we'll make in these videos, exercising, using certain supplements and medications recommended to you by your healthcare team or that you hear about in general, may be beneficial in many ways, that it's always important to also continue to work with your healthcare team that's responsible for looking after you. Whether that's a primary care visit or a specialist, always make sure to follow the guidance that they provide. Try to keep those regularly scheduled appointments. And while we appreciate the trust and the respect that you may put into a lot of the content that we'll provide here on our channel, always make sure to run that by them anytime you're going to be incorporating anything new into your routine. And also to be mindful that even with our best efforts and all of the things that we'll try to do to keep ourselves healthy, certain things like our genetics, the environment that we live in, other health conditions that we have, and a lot of other things that we may not know about ourselves are unfortunately going to impact our health. Don't get discouraged by that. Always make sure to continue on trying to live your healthiest and being well every day, and follow up with your healthcare team. We hope that you do enjoy our videos. If you do, remember to push that like button and also subscribe. We'll be putting out a lot more content, and we hope to see you back here for empowerment through health enlightenment.